to See Through the Mist. My name is Calvert County Commissioner Grasso.
I am Rebecca Sayre. I am the Tobacco Prevention and Cessation Coordinator at Calvert County Health Department. So if we're talking about addiction, particularly today we're talking about teen addiction and what's going on in the schools and what we're finding, and that's a lot of vaping. Also, interestingly enough, the Zyn pouches.
And what are those?
And so the Zyn pouches are actually like little pouches that are all encapsulated, and they have nicotine in them. So kind of like chew, except for they've just put it in a neat little pouch, and you just tuck it in between your teeth and your cheek.
Is that new?
It's fairly new on the market. The chew, of course, has been around for a long time. But what's so interesting is I was at a middle school the other day doing some vaping awareness, and one of the kids asked me specifically about the Zyn pouches and how much nicotine was in it and was it as harmful as vaping.
And the kids know this. They know what's out there. How young are you seeing vaping?
So in the middle school, so I'm guessing probably around 8th grade is where the schools are reporting that they're finding the kids vaping. And then, of course, in the high schools.
And in the high schools as well. What are the schools doing about the vaping and within the schools? Are they getting suspensions? Are they counseling them? What is going on with that?
To the best of my knowledge, they're doing an internal suspension for kids who are caught vaping. They do have like teachers patrolling the hallways. They have sensors in the bathrooms now that will sense the vaping and will go off. There is a delay though from the time that it senses to the time that the kids are vaping. When I was at one of the schools the other day, one of the teachers was telling me we were meeting about starting a vaping unplugged club in the school, and she was telling me that she was doing her rounds with this teacher, and they went into a bathroom because they heard some noise, and there was a couple of kids in there, and they shooed them out. They were getting ready to lock the bathroom door, and they heard some more noise. They went back in. They found 5 kids standing on a toilet behind the stall, all of them vaping. And so there it is.
And vaping, I have heard, is more harmful to lungs, especially underdeveloped lungs. I mean, they have not reached maturity yet, than cigarettes are.
I'm not necessarily going to say more harmful.
Okay.
I'm going to say still harmful.
Still harmful.
Different than the cigarettes. So when you're smoking cigarettes, you're getting that tar, right? With the way we describe it to the kids is brown, sticky substance that's going into the lungs, and the lungs are very fragile. So when you're inhaling anything that's not fresh air, you're compromising the lungs, and so it literally starts killing lung cells. Vaping is a clear, sticky substance. So imagine inhaling hairspray.
This is very interesting. I have talked to people who feel that vaping is an alternative, a more positive alternative to cigarette smoking. Some people who were addicted to cigarette smoking feel like vaping is the lesser of two evils, but it really isn't, is it?
No, it started that way, right? So they originally created e-cigarettes as a way to help people quit smoking. It had less nicotine in it, so it would help people wean off. However, the tobacco companies have realized that there's a real market in the vaping, and now most vapes have more nicotine than a pack of cigarettes. So for instance, a Juul pod, right? It's actually referenced that you have to do Juul math in order to get 1 Juul pod to be equal to 1 pack of cigarettes, because the average Juul pod is actually equal to 37 cigarettes, which is just under 2 packs.
Wow. And what is a Juul? Is that the...
Yeah, the Juul is just the brand name of this particular type of vape.
Okay.
So there's different types of vapes, and each one has a different, thing that they're advertising, and a different amount of... So Juul is one of the smaller ones. They have one that's called an Elf Bar, And that one is more like, kind of like a square, and it's full of liquid. That actually has the equivalent of almost 600 cigarettes.
Oh my gosh.
And so, in the schools, what are they doing with an elf bar, right? My guess, although the teacher didn't verify this, is those 5 kids standing around the toilet, they probably are passing the elf bar around, right? Like, take a hit, take a hit, take a hit, because there's plenty in it, right, for it to be that much. But there's not an awareness that there's this much nicotine in these vaping products. So that's where there's a huge misconception, right? In thinking that, oh, well, I'm just breathing in, water vapor and a flavor. And it's, first of all, it's not a water vapor, right? And the consistency equivalent to hairspray. Secondly, the chemical reaction. So a vape is heated to about 450 degrees in order to turn that liquid into vapor that can be inhaled into the lungs. So 450 degrees hot, it causes these chemical reactions. And the chemical reactions are now causing all of these carcinogens into that are being breathed into the lungs. Like the one I like to point out to the kids is formaldehyde. It's just fun to be able to ask them, do you know what formaldehyde is, right? And the ones that know it, immediately because of the look on their face, right? Formaldehyde is for the dead, it's not for the living. And so not something that we should be breathing into our lungs. We really want to be, aware of what is it that we're breathing into our lungs. That's just one of many carcinogens that are being inhaled into the lungs when we're vaping. And smoking cigarettes, it's exactly the same. Smoking the cigarettes and those chemicals that are being inhaled into the body.
I don't think people realize how addictive nicotine is, and now we have the vaping. How is this packaged to appeal to our younger citizens in the community? And also, how old do you have to be to purchase this product?
So you actually have to be 21 years old to purchase it.
So they're getting it
So they're getting it from another source, or I was talking to one young woman who told me that if she went into a vape shop and it was a male behind the register, not once was she asked for her ID. And now with the scanning of licenses, what was happening is they'll scan their own license, being over the age of 21 in order to work in these shops, right? So that she's like, not once by a male behind the register have I been asked for my ID. So sometimes getting it from an adult who's purchasing it for the kids, other times, right, like just knowing how to work the system, right? Like play the people to be able to get what you want. So yeah, the vape companies 100% are targeting the teens and preteens. And the reason is that the brain does not fully develop until about the age of 25. This means that when you start taking in nicotine before that brain is fully developed, what happens is the nicotine is now altering that development process. And it's placing itself as the number one priority. Right, so I call it hijacking that hierarchy of needs and what's important and what's not important. So the nicotine hijacks it, and what I've been saying to the kids is it's like it's turning on that addiction switch. Right, because now this becomes the number one priority, even over food, right? Over shelter, over relationships. This is what becomes the most important thing. And the kids don't know it, right? Nobody's telling them. Well, we're out there telling them. That's why we're talking about this today, because the vape companies, they're doing this big experiment. They're using these kids as guinea pigs. and they don't even know.
They don't even know it because it was initially put out there as an alternative to cigarettes. People thought it was safe. I understand they're packaging now with, or they have been, with different flavors that appeal to the kids. I'm sure they're like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? So they're making it so appealing to our young people, and then they get hooked, and they're part of an experiment and they don't even know it.
Yep, that's exactly what's happening. There's probably 100 different flavors out there, and interestingly enough, the flavors will promote as being nicotine free, and yet they've done independent testing which shows 99% of vapes that say that they're nicotine free, they have nicotine in them. Right? 99% of vapes that say that they're nicotine free, they have nicotine in them. That's crazy, right? There's no FDA regulation over this at all whatsoever.
Well, it's criminal.
Yeah.
It really is criminal to do this to young people. And I would imagine the parents are not any more educated than their children are with this.
No, it's so easy for the kids to be able to have the products and the parents to be completely unaware, because the vape companies are working to make this easy for the teens to start. Because those brains are underdeveloped, they get hooked early, they're hooked for life. Right? I teach quick classes to adults, and in my last group that just ended, I went around the table and said, how many of you started as teenagers or pre-teenagers? And do you know every single person in the room raised their hand? Right? Like this brain development thing isn't new. I had people that were 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, and older in that class, and every single one of them started as a teenager or pre-teenager.
And one aspect to it, if you get these young adults hooked early, you've got a customer for life. It's all about making money. It's not about their health.
Yep.
It's not about how it's going to impact them and impact the health community and the money that will be expended to help with different lung illnesses, and oh my goodness, it's awful.
It really is. It's just, it's frustrating because it's without consent. These teenagers don't know that they're a part of this big experiment, right? The long-term effects have yet to be seen of what's going to happen with these vapes. And that's going to be a whole nother generation, a whole nother problem in the healthcare system. And they don't have any idea that this is something that is so potentially dangerous for them.
And at that age, and I know I felt the same way, we feel invincible.
Right. And that's a part of the brain development, right? Like it's natural to feel invincible, right? Like just like we understand, a toddler is learning to regulate their emotions, well, this is one of the stages that teenagers go through as their brain is being developed, right? And so therefore, risk-taking is a part of it. So the question becomes, how can you find safer risks for them to take that aren't going to impact them for the whole rest of their life?
How creative is the industry in putting out a product that can easily be concealed or can look like one thing, but it's really another? It's a vaping mechanism.
Yeah, they're really creative with it. So I have seen the kids in the schools told me that on the sweatshirts, right? So what it is it's just little, and it attaches to the tie of the sweatshirt, and so it can look like the kid's just chewing on their sweatshirt string, and really they're taking a hit off the vape. Right? They have vapes that look like pens. They have vapes that look like USB drives. They have digital vapes that look like an electronic watch, or they have become really, really creative.
How expensive is it to be a vapor?
My understanding is less expensive than to smoke cigarettes.
Okay.
And at a conference that I was at a couple of weeks ago, they said that vaping has actually decreased in the price while the cigarettes are going up in price. And again, they're capturing that young audience, right? So not only, is it like so harmful to them, or they're making it 100 different flavors, they've got them devised in these different, devices that are easily disguised, right? So the pens, the USB drives, but also the price is going down so that the kids actually aren't spending as much money on vaping than on cigarettes, right? Like they want the kids to vape. And in talking to the students in the schools, right, they vape in classrooms, they vape in the hallways, they vape in the bathrooms. I mean, there's really no place that's off limits because how easy it is to conceal the vape. And there's this process that they can do, because you know how the vape gives you that big mist?
Yes.
Right? You breathe it out. Everybody has seen it, right?
Yes.
Like you breathe it out, you got this big mist. Well, there is a process where they hold it in until the mist actually is gone, and then when they breathe, they're just breathing regular, so nobody is recognizing that, oh, they're...
And that is so harmful.
I just can't even imagine
That
what
is
it is doing to their
absorbing
lungs.
into their lungs.
Right? Like you think about these new lung diseases that are specific to
Yes.
vaping, right? The popcorn lung is, I think, what it's most commonly known as. And that's because it's too much liquid, right? Even though it's a vapor, they're holding that in, right? It's just killing all of those lung cells, and too much too fast. And it's young people that are dying from the popcorn lung.
You know, it's such a contradiction because we have to take our cars for emission testing, and we pay for it, and it's mandatory, but yet there's not enough of an outcry to get these young people off of vaping.
Right.
And I would imagine that the cost has gone down because the consumer numbers have gone up.
Right.
Oh, that is awful.
Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
sad.
So some parents aren't aware, but some parents are also vaping themselves. So they're not necessarily going to tell their child, right, like, no, don't do this. And even if they do say don't do this, right, actions speak louder than words. So that could be a real easy way, first of all, for the young adult, just like getting the cigarettes, right? Your parents smoked, it's real easy to sneak a cigarette here or there, and they don't know. Maybe the parent thinks, oh, the pot is empty, and so it's done, leaves it around, the kid picks it up, right? And being able to like bring that through. But then if the parents think vaping isn't as bad as smoking, then what's the message that's going to their child, right?
Definitely.
To that young adult. It's that it's not so bad, and if the parents think vaping isn't as bad as smoking, or it's safer, better than smoking, then they're less inclined to be thinking it's a big deal if their child starts.
And this brings me another thought to mind. We're talking about teen vaping. Parent education is paramount, because I would imagine that they are as uninformed as their child is.
Yeah.
And so this message could be a double-edged sword, and it could help parents to realize how harmful it is for them as well as their children, but especially for the children because of the formation of the brain, the lungs, and all of that. How do we educate parents? I know I went to the health department with my husband, and there was an exercise, hiding in plain sight, and I think, having raised 3 children, that I'm pretty in tune. Tricked me.
Yeah.
It tricked me. So how can we educate the parents, and what are some tips to let parents know how their child can hide in plain sight a vaping product?
I think the awareness, right? So that hidden in plain sight is great, and it goes beyond just the vaping, the hidden in plain sight, right? It's about any
drugs.
substance, right? So the drugs, and really having that awareness, because we all want to think, no, our kid isn't doing it. Right? Like, I absolutely didn't think that my kids were into anything, and you know what? They were. right? And so I didn't know at the time. I thought, oh, I'm keeping the lines of communication open. I'm talking to them. You know, they're telling me things. Yeah, no, they weren't. Right? And so you find out, you know, like sometimes after the fact, or when a crisis happens and a situation happens, and then you realize, oh, shoot, right? Like I missed that cue. I missed that. So apparently there is a whole language that the kids use that parents are completely unaware of, and it's emojis that we think are just different emojis. Like, right, there's one where the emoji is like blowing, you know, like smoke, like you think of it as an angry, right? Like you know,
blowing
smoke
off
coming out of the
steam.
ears. Yeah, right, but really that's an emoji that actually relates to vaping, right? And like there's this whole string of emojis. It's their own secret language.
Oh my goodness.
So I guess the first part of it is, right, becoming aware of this. And it does require doing some research, right? Because it's changing all the time. The same thing is doing research on what are the lookalikes, right? How are the vape companies disguising these so that how do I know that, oh, I could just think, oh, it's a pen in their pen case. And that's exactly what it looks like, and really, no, it isn't. Or it's a thumb drive, right? And no, it isn't. So it's that awareness. I guess the next cue is really being able to gauge off of behavior. And if you start noticing a difference in behavior, a difference in grades, right, a difference in the, you know, social interaction, or
not eating as much.
Right, like really kind of being aware also of those types of things. It is really challenging with teenagers because they're already going through these changes where they're trying to become more independent. They're already in many cases pulling away from the parents because they're trying to step into their own and stand in their own, and you know, they don't want to be, you know, that child that's you know, like overly dependent on their parent or whatever. And so the teenage years are hard enough all by themselves without then adding addiction into the mix.
Definitely,
Right.
definitely. Well, we've talked about the parents, and the parents perhaps are doing it, or the parents are not educated. Do our teachers realize when they are enforcing rules within schools against vaping? Do our teachers know how harmful it is?
I think the teachers know how harmful it is. I think the teachers catching the students, or the awareness of teachers where the kids are doing it, may not be completely obvious. So that the way that they show up, right, like the different ways. In one of the you know, classes that I had the opportunity to be at, and we were asking the kids, where do they do it, right? The kids were the ones saying in the classroom. And so, right, not necessarily an awareness, right? Like, or is it one particular teacher's classroom, or, and they're like, yeah, it's real easy, you know, they just like pull their shirt up. Of course, if you've got it on the
Hold the
string
mist
of your,
in.
hold
the
the mist in, and then just, so I think you know, we can never underestimate the creativity of, you know, these teenagers, right? Like, they're in the creative part of their life. It's just getting them to start using that creativity to fight back, right? To say to the vape companies, we're not going to be your guinea pig. We're not going to allow you to do this experiment without consent, right? I don't give you permission to do that. And the best way to fight back is to say, no, I'm not going to do this.
And
Right?
empower them with the information
Really?
as to how negative this is for their bodies, for their brains. Now, we talked at one point about clubs in the schools. Can you talk a little bit about those clubs? What is their mission? I know it's not to vape, but are we using them to get the education and the word out among their peers?
That is the mission and the goal. So it's called Vaping Unplugged. And we have Our third school is just starting their Vaping Unplugged Club. Interestingly enough, the teacher said the reason that she agreed to be the school sponsor for this is because the students in her class said, please do it. We're sick of not being able to go to the bathroom. Do you know that there are students that will go the entire day at school without going to the bathroom because they know to go to the bathroom means that they're going to be going in, there is secondhand vape, right? They're going to have to go into these bathrooms that, you know, smell of vape, or that they're dealing with the students who are vaping, and they feel intimidated by that. And so they literally will not go to the bathroom for the whole entire day, simply so that they don't have to then venture into one of those bathrooms.
I had a mother tell me that her daughter told her that her son did not use the bathroom all 4 years of high school for that reason.
Yeah.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
And school should be a safe place.
Right.
And in that case,
And it's
not.
the minority of students who are vaping, and yet it's the majority of students who are paying the price.
Yes. Secondhand smoke is something that I don't think people are really aware of. My father-in-law was a lifelong smoker. He did not die from lung cancer, but my mother-in-law died from a lung disease, and she never smoked.
Yeah.
So that really, really is a negative for sure.
It really is. It really is detrimental. So when my sister delivered her second child, after the delivery, they delivered the placenta, and it was all blue. And the OB doctor said that she didn't smoke, right? But her husband did. And that was from the secondhand smoke.
That is a powerful example.
Yeah.
That really is.
Yeah.
What message would you give to the parents out there?
If I say this to every single person who smokes or vapes, it is your responsibility to protect the people around you. And that means that you are going to smoke or vape in a place that nobody else is going to be subject to that secondhand smoke or that secondhand vape, right? That's that person's responsibility. Go outside, right? Like, don't be blowing it in the direction of other people. If you can smell it, you're inhaling it, right? It shouldn't be the innocent person that has to protect themselves against the person who's smoking or vaping. It is the person who is smoking or vaping's responsibility to protect the people around them. Be aware, who am I affecting by doing this? Because it isn't just you.
Rebecca,
Sorry.
thank you so much. I think what we've done here today is invaluable to our youth and to the parents. And I thank you so much, and I thank the health department for being proactive. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.